Our new rule changes coming to Major League Baseball when baseball returns. It's the wrap-up show with John and Jim, presented by Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance. Before we get to today's topic, a reminder, if you're a Padres fan, you have to subscribe to our content. Hit the subscribe button down below that Jim is pointing to. Hit the notification bell. You'll be notified when we have new videos, 3 or more videos per week right now. Also, make sure to smash the like button and follow us on Twitter at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD. So what are these rule changes coming to Major League Baseball? First, let's tell you about Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance, because if you have auto, home, renters, or life insurance needs, and you're a San Diegan, you have to consider Mark. I just switched over my renters and my homeowners insurance to Mark. He made it so simple and so easy. He can literally do this in like 24 hours for you. It took a day, maybe it took 2 days. But he's a San Diegan. He's a huge Padres fan. We have a link down below. If you want to talk insurance, he just tweeted out that you can save $750 this year if you switch insurance over to Mark. $750. So there's a link down below. If you're a Padres fan and you want to talk Padres, he'll talk that with you. If you want to talk about your insurance needs, click the link down below. Get in contact with our title sponsor, Mark Nimitz at Farmers.
And when you reach out to him, let him know John and Jim sent you. All his information is above my head. mnimitz at farmersagent.com. His email again, mnimitz at farmersagent.com.
All right, there are 3 intriguing rule changes potentially coming to Major League Baseball as soon as 2023. A couple of them have been more widely discussed, Jim, than maybe the other. We've talked about the pitch clock ad nauseum. It's been in the minors for parts of the last 5 years. It hasn't been implemented in the big leagues as of yet. It could in 2023. Then there's the shift, which has been discussed among Major League Baseball fans for forever. It could be outlawed to some extent in 2023, which, by the way, could really impact the Padres because of Manny Machado. Nobody plays in that shift more than Machado. And then there's the idea of bigger bases. What on earth is baseball talking about when they talk about bigger bases potentially coming to baseball in 2023? So which do you want to discuss first among those 3 potential massive changes coming to baseball within 1 year? All right, we're going to get back to the video in a moment. We want to welcome our newest sponsor to the wrap-up show, Aura, a natural supplement and plant-based nutrition company with a co-founder, Will, that is a huge Padres fan and a San Diegan, and they've got an unbelievable offer for our viewers today. It's 30% off your first order using promo code WRAPUP at the link down below, which is ora.organic. That is Aura.organic. I've been taking this probiotic every single day for the last couple of months. It's just been unbelievable. It's plant-based, great for my digestion. It's so good for your heart health, your overall well-being in general. And they've got so much more, Jim, than just probiotics, whether it's proteins, fish oils. And I know you've been taking the protein every single time you've been working out here recently.
Yeah, I take the protein powder. I also take the pre-workout powder here, the raspberry lemonade flavor, jitter-free. When you are finished with your workout, you will not have a crash afterwards. It tastes delicious. It's my favorite tasting pre-workout that I've ever had, to be honest with you. I'm not just saying that. That's the truth. And if you go to their website right now, www.aura.organic, 30% off your first order using our promo code WRAPUP. You can get everything there. Like John said, fish oil pills, protein powders, greens, pre-workouts, everything you need to live a healthy lifestyle. Aura has it. Again, www.aura.organic. Use our promo code WRAPUP. You get 30% off your first order. You'll thank us later. Now back to the video. Let's start with the pitch clock first.
Sure.
There's already a pitch clock in baseball. Now it's not enforced at all, but if next time there's baseball and you go to Petco Park and you look in left field, you see a pitch clock. It's 1:20, and it's never enforced, but it's there. So I don't really know what they're gonna do with the pitch clock. How they're gonna enforce it? And I do feel like it's one of those things where if they say, if a pitcher's taking too long, they call a ball, or if a batter's taking too long, they call a strike.
Yep.
That's gonna, I think, cause a lot of problems. And I also think it's going to be one of those things where we could see those type of actions happening early on in a season. But as the season progresses, it's one of those things that isn't enforced at all. Kind of like the sticky stuff with baseball last year. As soon as that rule came down, every single pitcher was checked ad nauseum, like nonstop. And then as the season progressed a little more, you stopped seeing that. And a lot of umpires were kind of like letting it go. and maybe some pitchers started using it again, but it wasn't enforced like it was at the beginning. So that's how I feel about the pitch clock is if whatever rules in place with this pitch clock, which there's a pitch clock already there, but if they're going to, call balls and strikes for whoever's taking longer, that I feel like going to cause a problem. And I feel like it might be enforced at the beginning, but towards the middle end of the season, it won't be, especially in the playoffs, by the way. Like, imagine a big World Series game and you're in the ninth inning and the pitcher's taking too long and it's like a 3-2 count and then the umpire calls a ball. It's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen. Okay, a couple of things. I mean, I saw the pitch clock implemented in AAA in 2016 and 2017. It drastically shortens games because nobody
By
can
how
be
much, though?
20 minutes. I mean, that's a huge change. I mean, 20 minutes from a 3:20 game to 3 hours. I mean, we're not going to ever get the game from 3:20 to 1:30. It's never going to be that. So
No.
20 minutes is like taking like 8% off a game. I mean, it's a lot of time. 162 games times 20 is a lot of time. I don't know how many minutes that is, but it's a lot of minutes.
I'll let you do that.
I'm telling you, it worked. It worked in AAA, and the pitch clock then was 20 seconds. They're talking about implementing a 14-second no one on base clock and a 19-second runner on base clock. And by the way, I promise you this, it'll speed up the game. I'm with you. Are they going to be calling balls and strikes all the time throughout the course of the season? No, because players understand that ultimately they have to use some level of pace. You can step off, by the way. This isn't like tried and true. Like, hey, it's at 13 seconds. Let me just quickly heave the ball to the plate. That's not what happens. It's just not what happens. Here's the other thing. The clock you're referring to, I think, is the mid-inning clock for players and television to be aware of. So the clock that's down the left field line is to tell television and tell the umpires when a game comes back. Minute 20, there's no minute 20 between pitches. So that's the mid-inning clock that's used in the big leagues. It's the same clock. They would just change it if they put the pitch clock in. But it would say 14 seconds every time a pitcher receives a ball, and it would count down.
That's going to be an adjustment, I feel like. Because there's some pitchers out there that take
there are. It's not as crazy as it sounds. I'm telling you, having watched it in professional baseball in AAA, it's not as crazy as it sounds. I get it that some guys are going to fight it, but it's not as crazy as it sounds.
I don't think it's that crazy. I just think that there's going to be certain pitchers out there that are just going to cause a problem. It's just going to cause a problem for them. And how is it going to work out? I have to wait and see. 20 minutes off a game, yeah, that's a good chunk of time, but I don't think that's like if you tell somebody, hey, yeah, a game's 15 to 20 minutes shorter, like, okay, if it's instead of 3.5 hours, it's still 3 hours and 10 minutes. It's still a 3-hour plus game.
Mm-hmm. Well, so obviously they're not going to. I mean, what would it take to drop an hour off a game? Getting rid of half-inning breaks?
It would have to go back to the early 90s. Like, that's not happening. I understand that's not happening. You take off 20 minutes. Okay, that's 20 minutes. But people are still going to look at a game that was over 3+ hours long and say it's too long.
Yeah, you're probably right.
No matter what.
But it helps. But it at least goes in the right direction. At some point, they're going to have to get a handle on this. And really the only real way to do it is to limit the amount of time between pitches. Because the only thing that takes a lot of time in baseball is, there's 250 pitches per game. So there's nothing else you can get a grasp on to really change the pace of the game, and I'm with you. I think the players will fight it. I think there'll be some type of resolution. My guess is I want to say in AAA, when they implemented it, there were warnings initially. It's not like opening day, the second pitch of the game, the guy was slow. And they're like, ball one. That's not how it's going to be implemented. The first couple of weeks, there may be a few warnings. The second week, there might be one warning. The third week, they might say we're going to implement it. And there will be balls and strikes called based on delays. Okay, so there's the pitch clock, which, again, I think to some extent, baseball has been very reluctant to implement that in the big league game. I do think it's coming eventually. Then there's the shift. And a lot of people believe that baseball doesn't have the action that it needs. And a lot of people believe the reason there isn't action isn't just strikeouts and walks, but also the fact that position players are put in a position to obviously have more success than they were 30 years ago, because we never put the shortstop or the third baseman in shallow right to fend off left-handed batters until the last 30 years, by and large. It happened. It's happened over the course of the game, but by and large, it didn't happen until 20 or 30 years ago. What do you think about the idea of putting two infielders to the right of second base, so to speak, two infielders to the left of second base, so to speak, and therefore outlawing the shift in 2023 and beyond?
I've always, how many times have you watched a game and you thought no doubt that's a base hit.
And then the dude's right there. Like,
And
what?
then the guy's right there.
Yeah.
And what's the first thing that you say? Stupid shift.
Yep.
Like that's what it is all the
Sure.
time. I personally actually kind of like this rule because I think more offense in baseball would be better.
Hmm.
Look, I'm all for the 2-1 close games, pitcher duels, no doubt about it, but you rarely are getting those anymore because of um, pitch count, and you're not seeing many pitchers go deep into games, and you're seeing a lot of bullpen games, and so you're rarely seeing those like pitching duels that you saw in the 90s and the early 2000s and the mid 2000s. Like you're not seeing that anymore. You're seeing bullpen games, and you're seeing guys go 5 innings because they're throwing 100 plus pitches because everyone is taking every pitch possible. So this may increase scoring. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's going to help a lot of players with their average, particularly like, I don't know, maybe Eric Hosmer.
He's the
Well,
number one example, a ground ball
he
hitter that's a lefty.
right, and it goes right in this shift all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Guys like Joey Gallo, who
Yep.
hit right in the shift all the
Mm-hmm.
time. Um, you have to be a special player to go against the shift. Not many guys can do that.
Mm-hmm.
So am I cool with banning the shift, or at least making it so you don't have like every single player on the right side of the infield? Yeah, I actually kind of like that and kind of want that to happen because I want to see Machado play at third base. I don't want to see Machado in shallow right field, even though he's been great out there. He's one of the he's probably the best shifter, whatever that is, like a
Mm-hmm.
guy that plays in the shift in all of baseball.
Well, that's the problem. I think if you're a Padres fan, there's no team in baseball it hurts more potentially than the Padres. A, they implement it constantly. B, they're excellent at it because of Machado's versatility. We're talking about 2023. So you're not talking about 2022. But remember, do you remember Machado saying last offseason, I think in spring training, he said, I would outlaw it. If it
Yeah,
was up to me, I think it's stupid. I think you're really changing the fabric of the game.
right.
It's unfair for left-handed hitters compared to right-handed hitters who cannot be shifted. You can't
Yeah,
put someone in shallow left and throw them
no,
out at first base. You can only
right.
do that against left-handed hitters. He says, listen, it's stupid. We'll take advantage of it. It is absolutely to our advantage. He said, I'm paraphrasing, but he essentially said, this is to our advantage. If I
Mhm.
was in charge, I wouldn't allow it because it's not right. And I think that's probably the first thing to your point. If you want to increase action and scoring, this is way more important than bigger bases, which we'll get to
Yeah,
in a moment. But getting rid of the shift, I mean, each lineup is going to have a couple of left-handed hitters in it on average per game. All of those plate appearances, by eliminating the shift and having, a greater chance of a ball getting through on the right side, that's gonna drastically change batting averages to your point of left-handed hitters in baseball. I don't know what their averages were last year. I know they were significantly below right-handers, so I'd imagine they'd be more comparable to right-handed hitters once you implement this by outlawing the shift.
right. It's just I would say averages go up by at least 20 points.
Yeah, something like
20,
that. I agree.
yeah,
Yep.
20 to 30 points.
Yeah, I agree. And then there's bigger bases, and you're thinking to yourself, well, what impact are bigger bases going to have on Major League Baseball? I think the circumference would go up 3 inches, which means on each side it would be something like an inch and a half. So, what's the impact of expanding the base? I mean, I think there's a couple of things that we can get into. Obviously, the distance between home and first is an inch and a half less. The distance between first and second is 3 inches less because an inch and a half at first, an inch and a half at second, and so on and so forth. So maybe these are bang bang plays. We see it all the time in baseball. Maybe the inch and a half will matter between getting from home to first. Maybe the 3 inches matters in terms of increased stolen base production. Then I was reading this as well, Jim, and I think it's interesting. Pop-up slides. They say that oftentimes guys pop up because they're basically doing it to avoid falling off the backside of a bag. And when they pop up and then these are challenged on replay, guys are coming off the bag and out. You don't have to necessarily institute the pop-up slide if you have the additional 3 inches because you can stay on the bag when you steal. So I think there's a couple of things here. I don't know how impactful it's going to be, but it's another one of these rule changes I believe baseball thinks, Jim, is going to increase action and scoring.
Yeah. I don't know if I like it. Second base, if you want to make the bag a little bigger at second base to increase steal opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
I think that works. I think it just causes. I think it's just going to a potential to not cause problems with like umpires and replays. Because a lot of bang bang plays happen a lot of times. And how many times do you go to replay? You get no explanation. Like, can we actually, I don't know, maybe change that rule instead? How about we change the rule of replay where the umpires have to give are forced to give an explanation of what the call they're seeing and why it's overturned or not, instead of just making the bag bigger. I don't know how this would work. Every time I think of a bigger bag, I always think of those like softball, like the double bag with like the red bag and then the white bag.
Yep. No,
Like
it's
that's
not.
what I always. It's not that, but that's what I always think about when someone said when they've been talking about making the bases bigger. I don't know what this would do for the game. I don't know how it would create more offense or whatever they're trying to accomplish here for stealing bags or whatnot. I think the shift is the one rule where I could definitively see, all right, this is going to cause more action. This will definitely cause more offense because of the millions of times you've watched a game and you're just sitting there like, this stupid shift. If there was no shift there, that's a base hit or that's a double or whatever it is. A bigger bag, I think they're just trying now, like trying too hard. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that. I think there's a couple of things. I mean, maybe it's a little bit of a safer, you make the game a little bit safer by enlarging the bag because you have more room for two people's feet to be on it at the same time. We've seen some of those injuries. I do think it'll lead to slightly more stolen base attempts. I'm sure it will. You got 3 less inches to cover over the course of 90 feet, and you're talking about guys that are elite athletes like Fernando Tatis Jr., who's already capable of stealing 40 in a season. Maybe it makes you that much more likely to try a handful of more times over the course of a season. I do buy the pop-up slide thing. I think the pop-up slide is stupid in terms of guys being out because of it. That never happened in the history of the game until they put replay in it. And now guys just keep their tag on the body of the stealer. And that's ridiculous. Guy pops up, he comes off the base by 1/4 of an inch or an 1/18 of an inch. And he's out. I think that's pure stupidity. So I think that's what they're trying to eliminate. I'm with you. I think the shift is much more significant than larger bases. And I think of all 3 of the rules, if you're into action, it's the shift. If you're into shortening a game, it's the pitch clock. If you're into a little bit of hokiness, honestly, some people are. They want to see just, larger bases. Why not do that? Baseball is very slow to make changes. Something like that's a crazy change. They've been playing with the same size base, I believe, for 150 years, roughly, within like 1/4 of an inch or a 1/2 an inch, by and large. Now you're going to move it. You're going to change it 3 inches. So, and I like your idea, just changing second base. I really like that idea a lot.
Like, what's wrong with like first base? I don't feel like that. Why are we changing first base? Why are we changing third? It's second base that you get the action on,
right?
And if you want to increase more, or if you want to make people want to steal more, make it bigger at second base. That's where you get the action.
I'm with you. All right, let's ask this to our viewers of the wrap-up show. If there is a rule change you want to see in baseball, what is it? Is it one of these 3? Is there another we're missing? What do you want to see in baseball? Do you want to see the pitch clock or not? Do you want to see the shift outlawed or not? Do you want to see bigger bases or not? Comment down below. It is an interesting conversation. Again, it's not coming to baseball. It doesn't sound like in 2022. Then again, we don't even know if baseball is coming to baseball in 2022, but we're hopeful that we have baseball at some point. Again, comment down below. Again, if you are new to this channel, please subscribe. We have year-round exclusive Padres content. We've been doing it for the better part of the last half year, at least 3 videos per week. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. Smash the like button. Follow us on Twitter at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD. And please support our sponsors, Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance. He can help you save $750 on your insurance this year. And also Aura. There's a link down below. Use promo code WRAPUP for 30% off your first order life-changing health through Aura. There's a link down below. Again, whether it's probiotics or proteins, fish oils. And if you're purchasing Padres tickets in 2022, use the StubHub link down below as well. For Jim, I'm John. This has been the Wrap-Up Show presented by Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance.